OpenAI just released their new agent builder where you can create agentic AI workflows directly within OpenAI. It kind of works in the same way as N8N or Make.com, where you can construct your own workflows and connect to different apps through MCP servers. In this video, I'm going to walk you through just the basic steps of how you set these agent builders up and how to create a workflow within OpenAI. Alright, so to access the agent builder, you need to go into openai.com and you need to log in to the API platform over here. And then we have down here, we have something called agents. You press on build agents, agent builder, and then open agent builder. Okay, so I created a test flow where I'll just walk you through how it kind of works. Okay, so first I'll just explain the core principles of the different nodes over here. So the first thing we have is the agent node. Okay, so if you press on the agent node, we can give it instructions. We can say you are an block writing assistant, for example, and also another feature is that you can add the context. So you can add the input here, and this is basically the input from the message that you're giving it. So if I press on preview here, we can see that I can write it something, create a block, and that's going to be the input. All right, and you can also define if you want to include the chat history or not. You can choose the model, depending on which model you prefer. You can change the reasoning, and most importantly, you can choose the tools. So what's cool is that you can actually connect all these different tools. You can give your AI agent different tools that it can use. So here we can see that we can connect to different MCP servers. We can connect to different apps. We can tell the agent, okay, send an email through Gmail, set up a meeting in Google Meet, or transfer a file to Google Drive. All these kind of things, which is pretty cool. And then you can also choose the output format. So you can choose, okay, so do you want it to be text or JSON? All right, so that's it for the agent. Just going to delete that. You can also choose what workflow output you want to make. You can add nodes, like in N8N. You can mark this area like this. Okay, you actually can't put it behind. All right, so at least you can explain and say, okay, this is the routing node, or something like that. All right, and then we also have the different tools. We have file search, and in file search you can actually either you can create a vector store, and you can do that directly within OpenAI, or you can simply just upload your vector store here. So that's the way that you can search in files. So for example, if I add this to my agent, it can actually access the file and search within the file very easily. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this. All right, and then we also have the guardrails, and here we can, for example, say, okay, check for hallucinations. We can check that, and there's some different other options you can choose. I don't know how often you're going to use this continue on error. I guess that's something you would also use sometimes if you want a workflow to continue even though there's an error. But I haven't used this very much. All right, and then of course we have the if-else node. So depending on the input, you can route it down to the route that you want it to go. And then we also have the while node, which is basically, so it's just going to continue looping while it's true And if it gets a false input, then it's going to stop. And then there's also the user approval node. And this node is basically just where you can manually approve or reject. All right, so those are the important nodes in this new agent builder. And now I'm just going to show you a workflow I have set up just to kind of give you an idea of how it works. And here you have the preview button, and actually you won't be able to preview before you have sent in your ID. So OpenAI needs to verify your passport or your driver's license before you can use the preview button. So that's a bit annoying, but that's the only way you're going to be able to preview your workflow. Okay, so we have the start node, and the start node is basically the message input. So if we press here on preview, whatever message I input here, that's going to be the start. Okay, and I have set up a webinar agent, and I have given it instructions saying that you are a request classifier specializing in webinar registration detection. All right, so this webinar agent is able to classify if a user wants to join a webinar or has other intent. All right, and then I've set up an output format, which is called the response schema. So it basically says that, okay, if the webinar is true or false, it's going to output either true or false. And now I've set up an if node depending on the input is true or false, if the intent to join a webinar is true or if it's false. And I've used an if node for this. And the way that the agent builder works in OpenAI is that you need to use common expression language. Okay, so I'll just show you how it works. So let me just click out of this. And all right, here it is. All right, so you can see the different input here from the previous nodes. Okay, so we know that this one is called webinar because we just created the schema before in the agent. All right, so when I click on this variable, it's going to show the output from the webinar agent, if it's either true or false. And in this case, this is the true path, so I'm going to write true here. Okay, so this is true, this is false. Okay. All right, so now it should route to either the false route or the true route, depending on the intent of joining a webinar or not. Okay, let's check if it works. Okay, so I'm going to type in here, hi, I would like to join the next webinar this summer. Okay, so we can see that the webinar agent got the message. Now it's reasoning, and as we can see, it went down the true path. And now it's actually asking me to approve this webinar guest. I'm going to press approve. All right, and now let's try to go down the false path. Now I'll write, I would like to buy a cake. All right. So we can see the webinar agent is reasoning, and it went down the false path because the AI agent identified, okay, this is not actually a user who wants to join a webinar. All right, so I hope this gave you an idea of how the new agent builder works within OpenAI. In my opinion, it's not as intuitive as N8N, for example. There's a lot of restrictions. For example, you're not able to set up delay nodes. You're not able to connect to HTTP modules the same way. It's way harder, I think. So while I think that this new agent builder is cool and that it's more accessible to the public, I think that's a great idea, but I still think it's very technical. So there's still a long step for agentic AI workflows to be available to the public and actually be easy to create. But I think it's a good step in the right direction. If you want to learn more about how to set up AI workflows in either N8N, make.com, or now the agent builder in OpenAI, feel free to like the video and subscribe on YouTube. And you can join my Skool community for free, where you can access all my different workflows. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.